Am I audible, everyone?
Yes,
Shuman,
sir.
Ron,
Good. Yes, sir. Good morning. It's audible.
good morning, good morning. Let me share my screen. All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining this session. Let's start without any further delay. So, we are going to talk about the basic fundamentals, right? We already have idea about the certifications, about the examinations we discussed yesterday, and we know what are the certifications available and what all examinations we have to give to become a FCP certified. That is the FortiGate Firewall Administrator, and another is the Forti Manager, which we are going to cover from scratch. So now we are going to discuss about what all topic we are going to cover. Definitely, we have a total 12 modules, total 13 modules in this session. So one module is still missing. That is going to be 14 module. That is the Forti Manager. That is not included. So I will include that also. But yes, we are going to discuss about that next generation security platform architecture. We discussed yesterday as well. What is the next generation firewalls, right? We discussed about the what are the malwares, right? We discussed about the firewall technology as well. We discussed about the we already discussed about that, about the FortiGate. If you really want to know how to install the FortiGate firewall in the EVNG, definitely we'll discuss about that as well. Else, we're going to give the labs that is going to be available. So that is not much needed. But yes, after module one, we are going to talk about the module two. In this module two, we are going to talk about how to configure the initial firewall from scratch. Let's suppose you have a very brand new firewall and you want to do the configuration. What is the first command you are going to run that? How to interact with the firewall in case of the virtual firewall? How to interact with the firewall in case of the physical firewall? We'll understand about the dashboard of the FortiGate firewall. And then also discuss about the interface, zone, virtual wire pair. We also discuss about what is the administrative access. Like when you're going to access any of the firewall, so they have the by default kind of the restrictions like you cannot ping, you cannot SSH, you cannot HTTPS, you cannot do the any kind of telnet, HTTP as well. So how you are going to enable those services and how to integrate the DNS services, how to configure DNS servers. And then after we have to discuss the very important topic that is the uh, routing. Means routing is going to be very key important. What is the policy based routing? What is the dynamic routing? What is the static routing? How we can redistribute BGP into OSPF, OSPF into BGP, RIP into OSPF, RIP into BGP. RIP is generally not in use in the nowadays in the market, but yes, we can understand how to redistribute that also. And also we'll discuss about the what are the address object we have. Means we have to create the object group based on the IP, based on the MAC, based on the geolocations, based on the range. A lot of things we have. So I'll explain that how the object management is going to happen for the IP, for the MAC, for the any geolocation, for the FQD, and a lot of things available. Similarly, we discuss about how to do the service object. Means based on the different services, you have the FTP services, you have the telnet services, you have the SS services. So how you can group those services, and based on that, how we can apply the policies and which services you need to allow and which services you need to block. That is also possible. We can do that from this particular section. But this is more about the object and routing. Routing is going to be one of the best thing to learn. And definitely all labs we have designed in such way. Let me log in. So you guys are going to get this Gwinnett Lab access. And this Gwinnett Lab access, you're going to get individual username and password. And based on this individual username and password, you're going to access the lab. So what is wrong? Give me 1 second, guys. Something wrong. Okay, so you can see in this we have the FortiGate lab. So side-to-side VPN labs available, right? And this is the when you to integrate the ADs, actual Linux machine to inject the real-time virus attack, DDoS attack, any kind of vulnerability attack. So you can inject from there. And also for DLP, we have the FTP server also. We can integrate that as well. And for the advanced routing, we created the lab for the advanced routing. You can see here. In this advanced routing, we are going to discuss about how to configure the OSPF. Even we can replace the RIP as well. Uh, and I will show you how to configure RIP between these devices and how to make the redistribution between the BGP domain, which is running between the FortiGate firewall to the router, that is a eBGP. Another eBGP is going to be your R2 to the FortiGate firewalls, and then iBGP is going to run between the routers. So how this all communication is going to happen, and same time, if they want to go on the internet,
Varsha, yeah,
uh, Avinash, please mute yourself.
I'm
Please,
sorry, sorry, sorry.
please mute yourself. Please, I request you. So even you want to go on the internet, then how you can go on the internet, how default route is going to injected in the OSPF domain that I'm going to discuss, how you can by default when you redistribute the default route, FortiGate is going to deny because there is a special feature you have to enable to inject the default route in the OSPF domain. So that also we'll discuss about because routing is the very important guys. For the any firewall, again, I'm repeating that for any firewall, not only the FortiGate. Whenever going to start doing any configurations, very first things is going to check that is a routing. If no routing, nothing is going to work. So routing is going to be first thing. It is going to always check by your firewall. Second is going to be if you it is a NAT policy is needed. So it is going to check the sorry, let me try one more time. So if you're going to use the routing, that is the very first thing. Routing is not, then you can not proceed with anything. Second is NAT policy. NAT policy is basically if a NAT policy is applicable, if you want to go on the internet. So definitely you require the NAT policy. So you have to configure the NAT policy. And the third thing is going to be your security policy. So these things always you have to configure. So routing is always going to be very first thing. Means whenever you're going to start, you have to confirm the network. Routing can be in multiple format. If you configure the routing, it can be your connected route. Let me write here. It can be uh, hold on guys, why it's happening? All such nonsense. It writing somewhere, it's going in somewhere else. Okay. So it is going to be connected route. That is the very first thing. For that, you have to also have to understand how the connected route is going to work. Then also they are going to leverage the static routes, right? Then there is a dynamic route. Dynamic routing is going to be three things. Means it is going to be either RIP. We are going to discuss OSPF. Also, we are going to discuss the BGP. So these all things we have to understand how the behavior is going to be happen in the FortiGate firewall and how their communication is going to allow. Then after the policy and that is going to be there. So that's why routing is going to be one of the key things in our lecture. And we have to make sure that is going to be covered in very well so you guys understand in the bigger lab. Then we land with the firewall policy. In the firewall policy, it's very important whenever you're going to define any firewall policy, guys. So how firewall policy is going to evaluate it means anytime you're going to define the firewall policy, if you have the very good knowledge of the access list, we know that access list is going to be a standard and there is a extended access list. So if you very well know how the ACL is going to be executed, the similar way you can understand how the policy is going to be executed. Means the configuration is going to be a little bit different because it's a CLI based configuration completely for Cisco router. I know that you guys are work on the CLI, but in FortiGate firewall you have to use a GUI. The working principle, even the GUI configure the policy. Even the FortiGate you can configure CLI as well, but working principle is going to remain same as the ACL. Only in this policy you have the more option to restrict or allow. ACL having only few things means you can based on the layer 2, layer 3, layer 4. You can apply the any kind of restrictions. Not more than that. But if you talk about the policies, you have the more things. Even you apply for the layer 7, right? You can apply for the URL. You can apply for the SSL inspection, that is TLS or SL inspection. You can apply for the content inspections. So you can integrate the AD based policy you can apply. So there is a lot of things, and based on a lot of things, you can define the policy. So always policy is going to give the more features, but the principle is going to remain same. It is going to remain work from top to bottom. Means the very first entry is going to check if it is not going to match. It will try to check third entry, fourth entry, like that. If anything is not going to match, at last, NACL also going to do the implicit deny. This is also going to do the implicit deny. So same principle is going to apply. So we'll discuss about that, how the MAC based policy is going to be created, how the user base means any user account is going to be created. Based on that user account, how policy is going to be configured. Moving forward, we have the very detailed NAT configuration. Means uh, different type of NATs. We have to understand basic principle of the NAT. What is a NAT? What is a source NAT? What is a destination NAT? And how we can configure the different type of the NAT. Source NAT have the multiple flavors. Means destination NAT is the one flavor. Only we can configure destination NAT. Any IP is coming from the internet and you want to translate into any private IP address, that you can do that. But source NAT have the multiple like overload, one-to-one NAT, port block allocations, fixed port range NAT. So we have to understand this is quite different than other firewalls because Palo Alto having only one NAT, the static NAT, dynamic NAT, or PAT. Here also the same thing, but name has been changed. So we have to understand how the name has been changed. But they give the port block allocations, that is a different NAT, and the fixed port range is also a different NAT. So I will explain what is a fixed port range, how it is going to be configured. There is a mathematical calculation you have to understand while defining the fixed port range NAT. So I will explain that how those mathematical calculation is going to happen while defining this. Rest is going to be like normal. You can understand, no problem. Then after you guys have to learn about that advanced feature of the FortiGate firewall. That is going to be Antivirus. Let me log in. Let me try to log in one of the FortiGate firewall. So I can meanwhile try to demonstrate something. Even I will configure this from scratch, but for demo purpose, let me keep showing side by side. Just wait for a few seconds. This is going to be ready. Okay, so now it's ready. So you have to give whenever you're going to log in very first time firewall. I'm going to talk this in very detail, but given the idea, you have to put username admin, no password. Just press enter. Very first time if you're logging the FortiGate firewall, any firewall. So you just have to put no password. You leave it the blank and press enter. And now you have to set the new password. So I'm setting as a new password. We'll discuss this. But I want to see what is IP address. So this is my IP address. So let me log in this IP address. So this is my FortiGate firewall. Let me put it here. I'll just put it here admin. So if you guys say that, I was talking about the very first thing is network. So network is going to give an idea how to configure network, static routing, policy-based routing, repo, SPF, BGP, interface configuration. You have the different flavors, interface, zone, virtual wire pair. We'll discuss everything. Even if we go for the interface, we have the VLANs, we have the EMAC VLANs, we have the loopback interface, we have the software switch, We have the redundant interface, we have the SSL run VPNs, we have the VLANs also. So aggregate interface also. So we'll see how it is going to happen. And then these are the we have the administrative access, means how to allow the means it's known as the in Palo Alto term, it's not the management profile. So how to allow the HTTPS services, how to allow the ping services, how to allow the SS services, SNMP services, those things are you going to configure here. But I was talking about the security policy. Also, I was talking about the NAT. So if you're creating a NAT is going to be there. And these are the different kind of the NAT flavors. Means overload, one-to-one, fixed port range, port block allocation. So especially for the port block allocations, we have to do some mathematical calculations. Means how this port block allocation is going to happen, how to define the block size, what is the block per users. So this we'll discuss in detail. But at last, I was discussing help a slide security profile. So whenever we're going to create any security policy, I was talking about this one. So we have to talk about the security profile. This is something any firewall is going to become a next gen firewall if you're going to apply this particular policy. If the firewall have doesn't this feature, your firewall is never considered as a next gen firewall. Why? Because these features are going to give the actual content inspection, right? So if you want to do the content inspections, you must have to see what kind of the URL you are accessing by using the web filter, what DNS you are trying to reach, what kind of the application you are trying to access, any intrusion you want to access. So you have to apply the intrusion prevention system. Any file you are trying to download, upload, it should be aligned with the company requirement or company compliances. If you want to understand any HTTPS traffic is going on, HTTPS traffic is always going to be secure traffic. So if any secure traffic is going from LAN to WAN, or you're trying to accessing any website from internet, that might be going to include any malware, any virus. So how those malware or virus is going to be identify any kind of the vulnerability, right? So how they're going to be identified, etc. So those are going to be basically checked by the this section. Security profile is going to be verify every bit and pieces of your content, and based on that, they're going to take an actions. If they're saying that my virus should not be allowed, means any virus should not be allowed from the company, then it's definitely never going to be allowed. It is going to be simply block. That's all. Similarly, if you're saying that any wave filtering is not allowed, so simply it is going to block. It is never going to be allowed. All right. So you just have to enable this feature. So we'll discuss in detail how it is going to work. Moving next. Any questions anyone have?
Yeah, sir, I have one question.
Yes, Sandeep. Right. What question?
Um, so, as you understand, in today's world, security is moving to the cloud. So, we have a SASE infrastructure,
Mm-hmm.
and still we have the on-prem firewalls as well as we are studying for the on-prem next generation firewalls.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, whatever features we have seen, so there's, let's say, one example, we have a Zscaler SASE implementation, and we have a on-prem firewall as well, where we have all these fancy features as a part of next generation firewall. So, what should be our recommendation to the customer to move all these features to the Zscaler and get rid of the firewalls and use the basic feature of the SD-WAN boxes for the east-west traffic for firewall purpose, or will it be a hybrid model where we offload the high intensive resource features like SSL decryption, CASB, DLP into the cloud, and the basic features should be there on the on-prem firewall. So we have customers where we have both SASE in terms of SSC on the cloud, and still they're using the on-prem firewall. So end of the day, industry is moving towards the cloud security, right? So what should be our future goal, or how we should design the architecture?
Yeah, this is a good question, Sandeep. So definitely, always going to be dilemma and confusion for every customer, every engineer, whether it's always just stay with the hybrid mode, like leveraging the in-house firewalls, and also sending the traffic to Zscaler. But one thing is very much clear, right? Even we are not going to use the firewalls, and still I want to get the similar feature. Zscaler is capable, or even Netspoke is capable to give the all features because they have the everything. If I show you on Zscaler, you are going to get each and every features inbuilt. Let me try to show you.
So Zscaler is doing much more than what
Yeah,
the
yeah,
traditional firewalls are doing.
let me show that. Means whatever feature I'm exploring here, that is also, let me put it, my credentials 990430. So if I go for the Zscaler's GIA tenant, so you can go your policy. See, so this Zscaler have the every feature. They have the malware protections, advanced threat preventions. They give the feature like secure browsing that might be you're not going to find in the inbuilt firewalls, right? That is sandbox capability. Sandbox is zero data attack if it is going to happen. That feature is also available for security. At the same time, what I discuss about the URL cloud app control features, that application control, URL filtering, file control, bandwidth control, SSL inspection, TLS inspections, that all is available. So this is a layer your all content plus layer 7 inspection, SL inspection. At the same time, they also offering the firewalls inbuilt feature also. You can see here. Means if you want to inbuild the IPS control, FTP control, DNS control, if you want to build that any firewall control, that is also available. So in short, to answer your query, if you are the customer, right, and you are like not very big company, you don't have the internal infrastructure, you have the data center, colo locations, private cloud, you just have the branches, right? And still you want to make sure my all workforce should be secure. Means workforce means this Zscaler is offering the DLP as well. So even you want to use the DLP, you can see here DLP policy is there. Endpoint DLP, email security, that we're never going to be get in the firewalls. Okay. So if you want to really integrate these all features, so you want to make sure my any workforce sitting in the any locations. And if I want to just make sure those all locations are going to be, always going to be secure. Either user is in the office or user are in the user are in the remote location, like the road warriors. So this is just single solution is enough for you. You don't have to worry about anything. You just require GCC. Your office require the routers. So they are going to build the tunnels with the GEN. Simple GEN tunnel is going to be required from the any locations. This is your office location. You require simple router. After this router, they are going to build a tunnel with the GEN. GEN 1. This is going to be GEN 2. So you just have to forward the traffic. And that's all. Rest Zscaler is going to take care. Means everything, content inspection, everything is going to take. So you just have to purchase the router. But in case you don't want to purchase the router and still you want to use the firewall, most customer I have seen, they use the firewall as well for the basic security, like Palo Alto FortiGate. And from there, they want to run the SD-WAN. And at the same time, because SD-WAN is a quite fancy nowadays. So let's suppose you're not using the normal Cisco routers and you want to learn the SD-WAN. So you must be SD-WAN can be Cisco. Cisco SD-WAN boxes also have the capabilities to integrate the security, and also they have the tunnel capability to build the gen. If you go with the Palo Alto also have the SD-WAN, right? And also you can build the tunnel with the gen. At the same time, FortiGate also have the SD-WAN, and also you can build the tunnel. So if you want to use the firewall, any vendor firewall, or might be the even the Cisco SD-WAN solution, Versa SD-WAN solution, they all inbuilt coming with the firewall. So if you're leveraging the SASE feature and you want to make network your as a secure access services for the SSE or might be the network, both you want to make that. So the best idea, you have to enable the firewall for the just basic controls where you can just filter some kind of the traffic based on the rules, but and higher decryptions, higher kind of the checks, because always issue is going to happen on the internet when you go into the internet, when you go into the cloud application. That should be left to the gen. You don't have to do much pressure on your firewalls or might be the your routers where firewall is enables for the SD-WANs, because when you're going to put a lot of stuff on the your local firewall or SD-WAN boxes, it's required definitely a lot of processing. It's required a lot of configuration. If you go for troubleshooting, it required a lot of complexity there. But you leave as a just SD-WAN feature, so they will be easier for you for manage the your network and also for the security. So depend, right? If you're leveraging the SD-WAN, then I believe you can enable policies. You can just do some basic configuration and send rest of things on the GA scaler to take care of that. But you don't using the any SDN solutions, okay? And you are the just very plug and play customer. You don't have the SD-WAN solutions, anything. And you are the just customer. You want to save cost, then you just deploy two routers here, and these routers are going to just make the tunnel with the Gen 2 and Gen 1, which are going to be process the traffic. Okay, Sandeep, clear?
So end of the day, we have to, I mean, we have to show some cost benefit to the customer. So we get rid of the firewalls at the branch locations. If they have, let's say, more than 200, 400 branches. So, yeah, I got the answer. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, definitely. So whenever go to a customer, so definitely first we have to understand two things. Are they really looking for the SDN solutions, means the SD-WAN solutions? If yes, so even they want to go with a single vendor or they want to go with a vendor. So that also very important thing. Let's suppose I'm the customer. I'm going to say, hey, I just want to use the one vendor solution for my SD-WAN and same for the SSA. So I can just simply go in Zscaler and take all solution, right? Simple. Zscaler is also have the SD-WAN solution. They have the branch connectors. You can just connect all your branch with the all locations. They give the entire end-to-end solution. You don't have to worry about any other things. Your network is secure, your cloud is secure, your internet is secure, everything is good. But your customer say, no, 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 no. I want my FortiGate should be my SD-WAN vendor, and Zscaler should my SSE vendor, cloud security. So in that case, you have to do integrations. Does integration is possible? The answer is yes. Every vendor is supporting all integration. So we can integrate and we can just build a tunnel with the Gen. Another scenario, let's suppose I am the customer and I have already my legacy infrastructure and I am using the firewalls, and might be my contract is renewing, and now I want to replace those firewall and I want to make sure I don't want to use the SD-WAN solution. And I want to make sure my every traffic which is going from the uh, LAN to the firewall, then it's going to the internet, should now bypass the firewall and should follow the cloud-based solutions, which is going to definitely save the cost. You don't have to purchase the Palo Alto firewall, FortiGate firewall. So you have to take the subscription for the Zscaler. And then you have to just simply build the tunnel from the legacy routers instead of the your firewalls. Firewall is going to be completely away from network, and then it is going to completely save a lot of cost from the firewall, and it's going to be just forward traffic to the internet with the same security. So we have the multiple promotion combination. We just have to understand the customer view, what he really want to use, because the customer also have some kind of technical peoples. If they don't have technical people and they are just dependent on you, then you can understand their network infrastructure, they understand what they have budget, and what is their future growth, and accordingly, being a network architect, being a senior person, we can suggest about that. All right. So moving that further, we have these all features. I'll show you. Now we have to understand how to integrate the FortiGate AD. Means if you want to integrate the FortiGate AD, what is the step-by-step process to integrate the FortiGate AD? In our case, this is a real AD. So I will show you. There's two things is going to happen. One is going to be your active authentication, FortiGate AD active authentication, and another is going to be your passive authentications. So active authentications, that means whenever going to access any URLs, you must have to put your authentication, then your URL is going to be accessible. Passive authentication, that means even you once integrate the AD, then after integrating the AD, it is going to be complete your basically authentication on behalf of you based on the SSO. One of the SSO is going to be installed in the AD, which is going to fetch all your AD information on the FortiGate firewall. And this is going to just, authenticate, and you don't have to put username and password. It will transparently pass your packet if it is going to verify by the FortiGate firewall. So if you go in search here, even this very great feature, FortiGate active authentication versus passive authentications. So you can see active authentications prompt user with the captive portal browser login. Means you are going to always get the prompt your captive portals, and in this portal you have to put your username and password, then it is going to authorize, then you're going to access the any kind of the URLs. They generally were defined for the guest user, BUID environment, strict per session authentication needed. That is a definitely any guest is coming, any kind of the visitors are coming in the office. You have the bring your own devices scenario. In that scenario, you can just use this situations. But in passive authentication, it is going to be happen in the background. Identifications is users is going to happen in background by listening the login events by polling the AD server mapping IP address. So we have to use the Fortinet single sign-on FSSO. This software need to run in the AD server. I will show you how it is going to run. This is going to pull all that information in the firewall, and based on that, they're going to authenticate. So this is basically example for the corporate. Means you are in the company, so you don't have to always go and put your URL, username, and password, and then you can just do that authentication. No, simply you are the corporate network. Your AD is going to be automatically silently authenticated in the background, and you're going to allow to access the internet. So this is going to be interesting. We'll discuss that. Yeah. Also discuss about the virtual domain. What is a virtual domain? Uh, let's suppose this is my one of the firewall, right? This firewall, I want to split into multiple firewall. Means I want to split this firewall into multiple firewall. Same firewall, physically it's going to be one, but I want to split it as a four firewall. So I have to create the VDOMs. So VDOM is basically virtual domain. VDOM 1, I can make as a VDOM 2, VDOM 3, and this is going to be VDOM 4. So these VDOMs are going to make sure your logically firewall is going to be in four part, right? I will show in the live. We have the physical firewall, right? So I will demonstrate this demo. I will show you how to split the physical firewall in the logical firewalls. And trust me, once you split this firewall logically in the four firewall, your all configuration is going to be completely isolated. Means once VDOM, one VDOM is going to be dedicated to one domain, might be you're going to dedicate for the HR, right? This is going to be IT, this is going to might be the sales, and this is going to be made with the admin. So every department there have their own firewall. Technically, means all department traffic a different gateway, different firewall, different interface. And if they want to allow the communication between two domains, then we have to do some sort of the configuration. So I will explain how and what all configuration needed to achieve this requirement. All right. Now we will discuss after this video is what is the transparent mode of the firewall deployment, what is a virtual wire pairing, what is a software switch, how we can integrate the SNMP, how the backup restore is going to happen for the firewall, how the syslog configuration is going to happen in the firewall. So these are very small things, but this is very effective for the your day-to-day deployment. Any bringing the new firewall in the network, and you have to configure these settings. Then it is going to be give the all polling by the using the SNMP to the SNMP server. And also, if you want to do for the backup and restore for any configuration you want to backup restore, so how backup, how restore, how revision is going to create it in case of the any changes you're doing on that. And then syslog is basically daily basis how all changes you're doing, what all events is happening on the firewall. Syslog is going to be basically you can integrate with the Splunk server. That is a scheme, right? And based on that, you can correlate all the logs, what all happening in my firewalls. So this all feature available. And then the very difficult part is going to be your these two models. Very difficult part is going to happen because VPN is always painful for the all engineer. So we have to understand complete theory. Means what is the VPNs? And VPNs we have the basically multiple phases. We have to understand what is the IPsec. First of all, IPsec concept we have to understand. Then we have to understand the protocol AH and ESP. There is two protocol is going to happen. Then we have to understand that what is the mode of the AH is basically not recommended to use, but if you are going to use the ESP, they have the mode like tunnel mode, transparent mode, right? What is the tunnel mode? What is transparent mode? And then after we have to understand what is the phase one and what is the phase two tunnel, right? This phase one, phase two. Then we have to understand in phase one how many messages are going to exchange. Six packet exchange. In main, there is a main mode. Then it's going to be do the six packet exchange. And then if you're going to use the aggressive mode, then it's going to be three packet exchange. So what is the concept of the three packet and six packet exchange? Then in phase, this is the phase one. In phase two, basically, we have only one mode, that is a quick mode. There have a three packet exchange. Then also they have the version IKey version 1 and IKey version 2. So I'm just telling in the high level, sorry, IKey version 1 and IKey version 2. What is difference between these two versions? Which version shall I use to make the communications? And why? So first we'll understand this all theoretically. Then once we have the good understanding, then how to build the underlay connectivity for the VPNs, because this VPN lab is required to build the underlay connectivity. If you go here and let me show you. Okay, this one. So if I have two sites, site one and site two. So before you building any IPsec tunnel, the very first thing is you have to make sure you have the underlay reachability. Means this is the underlay reachability. Means your basic public IP reachability should be there. Any network deployment. Means if you are build any tunnels, any overlay communication, either GRE IPsec, any firewall, any router, any vendors. The very primary things is your basic IP reachability should be there. If the basic IP reachability is not there, you cannot build this tunnel. So you have to make sure you have the basic IP reachability. That is a first thing. Second thing, once you have the basic IP reachability, you have to configure the phase one tunnel, phase two tunnels. You have to configure the gateway, and then your firewall is going to be make sure you have the IPsec tunnel up and working. So those things will do that. In VPN concept, how it is going to happen. There is two VPN. One is a policy-based VPN, one is a route-based VPN. So we have to understand what is the difference between the route-based VPN and what is the policy-based VPN. Means we have, because in interview, it is always going to ask, please tell me about the difference about the policy-based VPN and route-based VPN. So that is definitely we are going to discuss about that. And when you're going to configure the VPN you're going to configure in the FortiGate firewall. We have the lot of options. Let me show you some demo while explaining. The options are going to be, you can see, VPNs are going to create, and this VPNs, when you create that, there are template-based VPNs, hub and spoke VPNs, remote access VPN, custom VPNs. So all options, and you let's suppose your local device is FortiGate, remote device is also FortiGate, but remote device is Cisco. Then this is going to be different configurations. When device is behind the NAT, then what is going to happen? Means your FortiGate is behind the NAT router. You have the private IP address, public IP address running on this router. Then what is going to happen? Remote device behind the NAT. Then what is going to happen? So I will explain these things, right? We'll configure the FortiGate to FortiGate VPNs with the different methods. Remote access VPN also configure. This is a template based. This is the custom. When you do the custom configuration, how you can do the custom configuration? Template is just click, 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 your VPN is going to be configured. Means you don't have to use a brain. But when you go into the custom configuration, you have to use your full brain, full logic. So I will show both of things. So you have the good learning how you can build these VPNs while doing the configuration. Similar in the your remote access VPN, this is the side-to-side VPN. But this is a remote access VPN. What is a remote access VPN? Remote access VPN means required on the FortiGate 40 client. This is the software required in your PC. And from there, you have to bring a tunnel with the firewall. That is one options. But let's suppose you don't want to use a 40 client in your PC. You want to bring a VPN via the browser, right? Any browser. That is also possible. Browser-based VPN also possible in the FortiGate toward the firewall. So we will do both of the things. How to make a 40 client-based VPN and how to make browser-based VPN from your PC to the FortiGate firewall. So for this, we'll have the dedicated lab. Let me show you. This is going to be our lab where I'm going to client to side VPN. This 40 client is going to connect with the browsers. That is one lab. Second lab is from the your 40 client agent is going to install, and then we will allow the resource access in the data center. That is going to be covered. In last sections, we are going to discuss about the high availability. High availability is basically you have to understand why HA is needed. What is the active passive HA? What is the active HA? So in this HA, it's going to give the redundancy in case of any failure is going to happen. Let me delete this lab unless it's creating a problem. Okay. So if you're creating a HA, we have to understand why two firewall needed. In case of my one firewall is going down, what all option to we have to select when it is going to be down, then my secondary is going to be again, in subbing mode. And in case of my primary is going to again come online, then how preemption is going to enable in the FortiGate firewall? There is some no GUI method to enable the preemption in the FortiGate firewall. We have to use a CLI method. Once they build the cluster, you can only log in the single firewall in the FortiGate sections. You cannot log in both of the firewalls. So if you want to log in both of the firewall with the management interface, how you can define the management interface? Somebody was asking yesterday in the class, I forgot the name. Let's suppose a cluster is going to build, then how I can make the login to the both firewalls. So these all option I will show you. We have the interface resource management feature in the FortiGate firewall for the interface configuration. This feature we have to enable. You go in the active passive. See management interface reservation. So this is going to help once you configure this feature. Your both firewall is going to be get the individual management IP address, and by using those management IP address, you can just log in the firewall. That is possible. This is going to be happen. And there is two mode, active active and active passive. So active passive is going to be one firewall is active, another is going to passive. So passive is going to be just listen in case of active is going to down, then passive is going to take a role. But in active active, the both firewall is going to active active, but there is just some limitations. Only for TCP traffic, they're going to do the load balance. If you have the any ICMP traffic, any broadcast traffic, any multicast traffic, it is not going to do the load balancing. Only TCP traffic. So this I will show you how it is going to happen. Next important things is going to be covered in our section, that is the FortiManager. So I don't have access to that server because I have some internet issues since 3-4 days for our one of the ISP. So we are not able to log in the server where FortiManager deploy. But I will show you that's also how to deploy the FortiManager and how we can just start doing the FortiManager configuration. Okay, so Kalyani, you yesterday asked me, I hope everything clear about the course content, what we are going to cover?
Yes, sir.
Everything clear, right? So this is
Yeah.
what we are going to cover in our course model. Any questions, guys? Any questions, any feedback, any suggestions? Or we are good? Okay, so I'm considering, give me one second. Everything is good. Let me share something else. Okay. Yes, Arun, please go ahead.
Sir, what is this term known as gateway to firewall? I have heard about transit gateway, VLAN transit. Gateway to firewall, what does it actually mean? It is the gateway on the firewall they are
That's
asking,
the
or
same way.
what
Yes,
is?
gateway to the firewall means your firewall is going to act as a gateway. Means anyone is going to land to the internet for any VLAN, any kind of subnet. Your all PCs gateway is going to be, or might be the server's gateway is going to be a firewall. Then you are going to access to internet. So gateway to the firewall, that means your means the very first hop of your any device is gateway, right? Gateway can be your L3 switch, gateway can be your router, but in case if you have the firewall, you always consider firewall as a gateway, and your traffic is going to land to the firewall and then it is going to the internet. That is the best use cases we define in the productions. But sometime firewall is acting as a transit. It's not a gateway. Might be my core switch is gateway. So my traffic is going to land on the core switch, and then after it is going to be do follow the routing and it's going to land to the firewall. Firewall is just going to inspect the policy and then it is going to allow the internet. Okay, Arun?
Yes, yes. And one question, if we are having a location firewall and the DC firewall, so same rules are applied on the DC firewall for same source destination, and on the location firewall also same rule is applied. So which rule will take the priority? It is
No,
the
no.
DC
So let
firewall?
me explain. That's a good question. Let me explain. So location is your branch, okay? Let's suppose when you talk the location, it is going to your branch. Branch have the, let's suppose one single device is going to be there. FG01 is the firewall. Behind that, we have the switch. Very basic topology. And behind the switch, we have the users. Now, let's suppose we have the one of the ISP. Take internet. And now we have one of the data center here. DC also, let's suppose we have, let me use different color. FG01. Behind this FG01, we have the switch. Behind the switch, we have the server, server 2, server 3. Now, let's suppose this PC have one of the IP address. Take an example. You have the IP address of this PC 10.10.10.10/24. This having IP address 10.10.10.11/24. This PC is having IP address 172.16.10.10/24. This is the 11, this is the 12 from the same subnet. So very first thing when you talk about the branch firewalls. So whenever traffic is going to land to access these destinations, let's suppose this is a requirement, you want to access the traffic from this source to this destination. So whenever this firewall is going to receive this packet, it will check, do you have a rule from 10, 10, 10, 10 to 172.16.10.10. The rule is going to be checked in this firewall. If you say yes, it is allowed, then it is going to allow. So you have to create the rule. Just giving the basic example. So your traffic is going to inspect it on the firewall. And based on that traffic, your traffic is going to pass and going to raise to the this firewall. The moment your firewall is going to receive this, firewall is going to receive this. It will again verify the rule. Do I have a rule? Means rule is a policy. You have to create a policy like this one. It is a policy is going to be there. So you have to create a policy. Go in the policy. And in this policy, a lot of options. I'll explain that. What are options you have: incoming interface, outgoing interface, source IP, destination IP, actions, whether you want to allow it now, what services you want to do that. You want to use the NAT, security profiles. So this is also required at the your this location. And this location also going to check the rule, means the policy is going to check, do we have the policy from 10.10 dot, because your source is going to remain same, but destination is going to also remain same. So it is going to take action. It's allow or deny. So both firewall is going to inspect your traffic and action is going to happen based on your considers. Might be in this firewall you allow, but here you block that connection. So your communication is never going to happen from this to this. It makes sense, Arun? You understand a little bit what I explained?
Yes, 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 clear.
Okay. All right. Somebody who joined with the Motorola Edge 60 Pro. What's your name, sir? Motorola Edge 60 Pro. May I know name, if you don't mind? Hello, Motorola. All right. So meanwhile, he's going to speak. Let me explain something else. So anytime when you're going to get any firewalls, right? So firewall for the FortiGate point of view. So you just FortiGate product matrix. So if you talk about the FortiGate product matrix, the FortiGate have a lot of firewalls. FortiGate have a lot of firewalls models available in the market, like 30Z, 40F, 50Z, a lot of things we have, and 60, 70, 80, 90, 120, 200, 400, 700, 900. We have the 1000F, 1800, 2600, 3000, right? We have the 3200, 3500, 3700, 3800, 4200, 4400, 4800, 7000. That's the highest model of the FortiGate firewall. So whenever you're going to deploy any vendor firewall guys, so you guys have to make sure your customer requirement. Does it really need? Let's suppose I'm the customer. I need a means five-seater car, means including driver. Three passengers can sit in back end. One is my co-passenger driver. So total five-seater car. This is my requirement. But somebody is going to try to sell me bus. It's not justifiable, right? Bus is not actually my requirement. Bus is basically requirement basically to carry the more passenger for the commercial use. Might be the I want to go with my family, friends. Then a bus is needed. But I can on with the rent as well. Why I can bear the cost of the bus for the maintenance and everything. How I can go and run the bus on the road with my only four people. It's not going to look nice as well. So bus is for use for the when we have the more traffic to carry. Car is for the small traffic to carry. So similar way, when you're going to be sell any firewall, let's suppose you are the pre-sales engineer and you want to sell the firewall, you have to understand your customer requirement. Whatever data they are using, how many employee they have, what is the future growth they have, and based on that, you have to select the firewalls. What firewall is going to best? How many tunnels they want to build? How many branch they have, right? How many basically they have the IPsec tunnel. So these all is going to be captured during this, firewall procurement process. And that's why you have to understand, let's suppose one of the 40F firewall, that's very small firewall you're going to use it, 30G also there. But you can see this 40F having the very basic kind of the throughputs, 5 GB PS, firewall throughputs, maximum is going to happen. You have the VPN IPsec 4.4 Gbps. VPN IPsec is also going to be there. You have the IPS throughput is there. You have the NGFW throughput is there, right? 800. You have the threat prevention throughput is there. Firewall latency is 2.97 microseconds. Concurrent connection. It's going to be only have the 7 lakh concurrent connections. Just 7 lakh. It's very low number. Trust me, guys. Even when I'm talking to you, when I'm opening that much browser, see that much browser, might be for my PC itself having more than 500 connections. I don't know. Because every applications when I'm clicking on the internet, any chat is happening on the, let's suppose I'm opening the chat window of my Zoom. I type in the hi here. This creating the two connections for me. If you're liking that my chat, let's suppose click on my chat, it's create one more connections here. So every action you're doing that, even if my PC is doing any kind of the internet updates, any kind of the sync check, gateway checks, so all are going to make a connection. So might be my PC is going to itself create the 500 connections, 1000 connections. We never know. So when we have the multiple browser, multiple applications, multiple sub applications, multiple tab, if you're in your team chats, let's suppose you're talking 100 groups, right? And everyone is liking, everyone is sharing some informations in teams. You doing the chat with the 5 people, 10 peoples, they're liking your chat. So though all are going to create a connection. So this concurrent connection is very important. How many concurrent connection is going to be used in your network? Let's suppose I have the thousands user. So might be this is not enough for me. It's very low peanuts for me. So only 5, 10 users are going to be okay. But if you have the more than that, then I have to think for the bigger firewall. So give me 1 second. Yeah. So we have session name per seconds. We have the firewall policy. Maximum firewall policy you can create up to 2000. See, most important thing, if you want to build the IPsec tunnel, you cannot build IPsec tunnel who can carry traffic more than 200 Mbps. That's a means maximum tunnel is going to be 200, sorry, not Mbps, but throughput is going to be 3110. No, this is not SL inspection throughput. Maximum tunnels we can create 250 SL VPN. Yeah, see here is the 1 GPS. No, it's IPsec is 4.4 GPS. Yes, this is the 4.4 GPS. So if you creating the IPsec tunnel and you want to get the throughput for the IPsec, it's going to maximum 4.4 GPS, right? Tunnel is maximum 200. But if you have a requirement, you want to get more than that bandwidth, it is not possible. You have to go with the higher firewalls, 7.1 GPS. You have to go in the more higher firewall, 36 GPS. So depend how many IPsec you want to build, and let's suppose how much bandwidth you want to carry from the IPsec. So those also going to be your considerations, and also how many SSL client VPN is going to be there. So basically, see, VPN SSL VPN is not supporting, right? Because so if you have the remote access VPN supportability, so it is not going to support by this particular firewalls. You have to go with the higher firewall. You go with this firewall. This is going to support your SSL VPN connectivity. Means you want to connect with the 40 client, it is going to support it as well. Now you have the 40 switch. It is going to support it. 40 tokens supported. So more bigger firewall you have, more feature you are going to get. And you can see this concurrent millions are going to be there. More firewall bigger, even it's going to in billions somewhere, 11 millions, 28 millions. It's going to be 2 millions, right? New sessions, and 40 millions is the concurrent session. 230 millions is the concurrent session. If you go more firewalls, it means 7,000. 7,000 is going to support 1 billions. So it's going to support 1 to 1 billions concurrent session. So if you have data center firewall, very big environment, you can use that. So we have the multiple models, but if you have the small network, you have to select the small firewall. You have the medium range, medium firewall. It's depend on the multiple factor. Then we have to select the firewall. Similarly, we have the FortiManager manager also. FortiManager manager, this firewall of the FortiGate firewall can be physical firewall. These also I show you that is a physical firewall. But there's a virtual firewall as well. Virtual firewall also you're going to find in the somewhere below. I will show you virtual firewall is not listed here, but definitely in below I will find the virtual firewall as well. But in FortiManager, you can see FortiManager is going to be your physical. These are the FortiManager. FortiManager is nothing. It's a centralized tool, centralized management tool where you can just manage like SD-WAN. We have the vManage. Panorama. We have the means Palo Alto. We have the Panorama. So this is also FortiManager centralized management tool. By setting on the FortiManager, you can manage your all firewalls. Means any firewall you want to manage, you can manage your all firewalls. And how many firewall you can manage with the models? If you have the 40 manager 200G, you can manage up to 30 devices maximum. But if you have more than 30 firewalls, this is not enough for you. You have to use the 4110G. It's going to manage up to 150 devices. If you have more than that, you have to use 1000G. It's going to manage up to 1000 devices. You have to go 31,000. It's going to manage 4,000 firewall. If you have to go 3700, it's going to manage up to 10,000 plus firewall. For the virtuals, it's going to be managed unlimited because you have to scale the hardware in the your servers, and also you have to take this license. So there is no hardware dependency, and you can just do manage whatever firewall you want to manage, minimum 10 to unlimited. And the log rate are going to be different log rate. This log rate is going to depend on your hardware. The GB per day, it's 1 to 50 GB per day. This is going to be carry the logs and all. Total interface depend on the your VNX of the hardwares. Storage capacity up to 80 GB to 60 terabytes. This all possible. Right. Similar, we have the FortiGate analyzers. FortiGate analyzer is again tool, can be hardware. This is just for the log analyzer. Forti management for the management purpose. Analyzer is going to use for the my log management. Means anything you want to just visualize for the reporting logs. This is going to be used for the log. So this can be also hardware. This is going to be also virtual device. Based on that, you can just do whatever you want to do that. So this is going to be also use that. Rest are not in our use. Same authenticator, AP switch. This is not going to be NAC, sandbox. FortiClient definitely we're going to use this. FortiClient is going to be used for the remote access VPN for the Windows, Mac OS, Linux, Android, iOS. There are a lot of things we have. FortiMail not in our use. FortiWeb vendors are a lot of available. But see here, FortiGate VM firewall. So right now I'm using this firewall as a Forti VM firewall. Right? Physical firewall also I'll show you. But right now I'm using the FortiGate VM firewall. We have the FortiGate physical firewall as well. And this is my dashboard. And this is going to be a VM firewall. So this VM also we can leverage, and it can be deployed in the any infrastructure like VMware, Cypress, Citrix, Gen servers, Gen, KVM, Microsoft Hypervisor, where even you can deploy in the Azure, AWS, GCP, Nutanix, Oracle, Alibaba. This all possible you can deploy that. Clear? Any question about the product matrix? I think you guys have some basic idea now about that FortiGate. What are the vendors? How firewalls? All good?
So
Yeah, please, Sandeep. Go ahead.
in this, if we enable IPS, it says the throughput will be downgraded to 1 Gbps, and then it says for the NWG features, if we enable both the blades, if I enable IPS as well as next generation firewall, then what will be the throughput?
So see, this is the throughput of the firewall. Firewall throughput is max. Let's suppose considering this one, right? 5 GPS, right? This is the 5 GPS throughput. But if you enabling the IPS throughput, if you just enable the IPS, that is going to be your IPS throughput is going to be 1 GPS. Next generation firewall throughputs, that is going to be 800 GPS, and 30 dimension is going to be 600. By default, this is a defined one. So if you're enabling this all feature together on this firewall, definitely when you're going to enable the next generation firewall, means you deploy the next generation firewall, this feature are going to by default enable. So, but maximum capacity for the IPS you're going to get 1 GPS, and next generation firewall features you're going to get 800 MPS. But you are going to get the only firewall throughputs. It is going to support up to 5 GPS. But when you're going to apply on the NGFW, it's maximum 800 MPS. Is it the same thing you're asking, Sandeep, or something else?
Yeah. End of the day, what I'm saying is, so we enable everything. So what will be the final throughput?
So final throughput, it's a 800 Mbps for the NGFW.
Okay, that is the final throughput, right?
Yes, this clear written here. Final throughput is a 800 Mbps. If you have the more throughput required, then you have to change that, firewall model. Okay, so Vinas, you have any questions?
Yes, sir. There is some firewall like fixed firewall and modular chassis type firewall, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sir, what is the main difference between them?
So chassis-based modelers, these are the actually firewall. These are the firewall, chassis-based firewall. Chassis-based means you have the like option to insert the blades. You can upgrade the RAMs. You can remove the cards, right? But in the fixed firewall, it's always going to be sealed box, sealed pack box. You cannot do any kind of the changes on the hardware architecture. You cannot remove any card. You cannot jack in, jack out the card. So chassis-based firewall basically have the chassis where you can just inject the card as per your requirements. So chassis-based FortiGate firewall. We go here. Let me show this FortiGate firewall chassis based. So you can see there are a lot of chassis mod. You can just jack in the card. If any card is going to faulty, you can just remove and again insert. But you can just see the normal firewall, right? Let's suppose 2600F firewall. This is a fixed box firewall. You cannot have the option to remove anything. It's always going to be, inbuilt each and everything. So if anything is going to be, let's say this port is going to be faulty, you have to replace the entire firewall. But chasing this firewall is always going to be costly. Okay, Vinas?
Okay, okay.
All right, so we are in the very beginning of the session, so I don't want to teach a lot. Let's meet next week, and we'll have a minimum 2 hour session by next week. Be ready for that. I will explain step by step how firewall is going to configure. That is the agenda I wanted to cover today, but it's going to be long now. So I will cover step by step how FortiGate firewall, if you have any brand new firewall, so how you're going to configure brand new firewall configuration for day zero. What are the configuration you have to do that step by step. So let me show that lab day zero, day zero, day zero. Where is day zero? Yeah, this one. So what command you have to run? What is a software firewall? What is a hardware firewall? So I will cover these all. So that's all for today. Okay. Yes, Kalyani, please go ahead.
Sir, I had a request 2 days back. There was a user in my organization who have downloaded some software unknowingly. It was like she was not aware of that software being downloaded, but our cybersecurity team have identified that there was an activity. So they have asked us to check the logs in the firewall. It was done on February 28th. So they are asking me to check the firewall logs now. Can I get them from the FortiGate?
Yes,
Uh,
you can get it. It's a malware, right?
yeah.
So go in the virus, okay, and try to
Mhm.
filter with the if you the user ID is integrated, you can find with the name, okay.
Okay.
If you don't know the user ID, then you have to check the log with IP address. If they reported, might be the cybersecurity found the log, okay. So they have the IP, which IP is basically injected and who user is injected. So you can get this all logs in the your virus section. This is going to give. If you're not getting the finding the virus, you can just go in the finding the intrusion preventions. There's the malware also going to give that all information. So this two section is going to give that log information. But you know the IP address or user name, either are going to be required. Then you're going to filter the logs. Right now I don't have any logs here, but once we configure, we'll get the logs also. I will show you how to filter the logs in upcoming sessions, Kalyani.
So
But
we
this is
can
two.
get. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, please. Ask a question.
Like it was. I mean, it happened 2 months back. So will we be having logs of those as well?
Yeah, generally firewalls having a log settings. I need to check the log settings, how log settings used configured. Generally, 2 months log we carry, okay? If memory is not full, right? Log memory is not full, then it is not going to override the logs. So depend on the firewall model, how many storage they have. Just tell me the your firewall model in next class. I will tell the how much maximum time they can hold the logs, okay? But try to just find with these events, okay? If probably it should be there. Generally, we carry the logs for 1 or 2 months, unless we not have the very small memory or not we do any kind of the. Do you have the 40 analyzers available? Your company?
No, no. We only have one FortiGate for one particular location. Remaining, we are using FTDs. For different
Okay.
locations, we are using FTD.
Should be there. Okay. Just check it. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, guys. Let's meet next week. We continue from here. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of the day. Bye bye. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.